Hello and welcome everybody, my name is Severin and let's explore together the solar eclipse in Cancer. So depending where you are at, on the 20th or the 21st this event is happening, and that means it's happening synchronistically with the summer solstice on the 21st and makes this event even more significant therefore. So there's a lot to say. It's a very rich eclipse and I want to explore it definitely, and please let me know if you resonate with it. If you don't and have to share or add something, also be my guest. And with that, let's dive into that topic. So the solar eclipse, this one in particular, is a window. Always when eclipses are happening, it's a window, and we have 3 eclipses this time. So we are in the middle one, because the first one 2 weeks ago and the one in 2 weeks, they're simple partial ones and therefore not so strong, but it makes the middle one even stronger. So the sun is shining up on the earth, but the moon is in between them. It's a new moon, sun and moon are together, and that means the moon is shining or shedding its shadow up on the earth. And you can see that from parts of Africa, but particularly you could see that in India and China. So that's the visual part. But on a symbological level, let's talk a little bit more and explore eclipses in particular. And you have to understand solar eclipses. That means when it's a new moon, it's just bringing a new seed into awakening, and that seed is gonna awaken in 6 months. So it's like a super new moon. Like a new moon is like the theme is for an entire month, a new moon, a new theme, and then with the full moon it's ripening. This one is seeding, and then in 6 months is ripening. So that's a really interesting topic that we are gonna explore and experience on a worldly level as well. But let's say also on a symbological level, let's go a little bit deeper. A friend of mine had a good question where he asked me, hey, is it true that during eclipse times you are not supposed any psychedelics? Is it dangerous? And me personally, I haven't heard about that. I would be curious why that person who said that. But in my experience, yes, the eclipses are times where you're not looking at the event itself, like you're not going outside enjoying the eclipse with your visual eyes. You can take that as an entertainment, but it's a time where cultures in ancient time, they have been afraid. They were hiding in their houses. They were thinking that some sort of dragon or snake or some malicious beast is doing something, and it's something negative happening to the world. I wouldn't say that you have to be afraid. In the contrary, it's just not something external, it's something that you're exploring within. So something is happening to your psyche, something is happening to your personality, or you could simply say the cosmic flow of energy is getting realigned, and therefore we could say the world and ourselves are being pushed in a new chapter. There is some sort of realignment. We have to deal with the unexpected, and it's also a moment of a break where you have to go within and turn within and figure out what's actually going on. And for that you have to actually become aware of something that's alive within. And in that sense, I would say psychedelics are fantastic. Because psychedelics, what are they doing? They're simply giving us an opportunity to peek through the veil. Right? In day-to-day lives, we are so connected with our thoughts, with our emotions, with our ideas, with our cognitive behavior, with our personal view of the world. And when we are taking some sort of medicine, some sort of psychedelics, it gives us the capacity, it pushes us into alignment with something that is eternal. We cannot understand that, but we can feel that. Suddenly our small self dissolves into the vastness of the universe. And we are realizing in that moment what we are personally being stuck in, what we have to let go, why things are making sense, why there is meaning in the world, and that everything is perfect, into alignment, into a flow that maybe seems for our limited perspective bad or negative or scary, but in the end it's just making sense and it's going to turn out fine, because this is not something that we can understand on the personal level. And in that sense, I would say if you use psychedelics in that way, then please, this is a wonderful experience and a moment to actually really understand something maybe that you haven't seen before or understood about yourself or in the context of the world or of the bigger universe. So that brings us to talk about the retrograde planets. Now also Mercury has joined the retrograde club, and that's simply happening from the 18th of June until the 12th of July. And that makes it one more with Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and some of the outer planets as well. And simply when we have retrograde motion, it turns us more within. And we are becoming more and more aware of what has actually been happening in the last months, where these world events have been stirring up our emotional, our mental, our visual household, because Jupiter and Pluto are coming together. And these two, the last time they came together, that was just the beginning of the lockdown, even though Saturn and Pluto have stirred that up. Jupiter and Pluto are almost like the shit hits the fan. And it's almost this intensity and things getting worse. But in the same time, when this intensity is happening, it's also an opportunity to wake up, to actually go beyond the fears, the worries, the stories that we are creating and making our daily moment that we are experiencing so difficult. So in that sense, Jupiter and Pluto are coming together on the 3rd of June, second time, and then by the end of the year again. So I would say this story that we are in with the coronavirus is continuing. It's just the beginning of a bigger story. And that brings us more and more into confusion. It brings more and more fears, anger, worries, anxieties up in us because we don't know how to deal with the future. What's happening if we actually figuring out that that virus is created in a lab? And actually, maybe it was not intentionally, but maybe it was intentionally being brought out there. What if we are figuring out that our system on an economical level is simply not working anymore? What if we are figuring out that the politicians and the corporations are not trustworthy? And all this polarization of what we have right now of Black Lives Matters is simply something that has always been alive and simply being pushed right now to the surface by Jupiter and Pluto. So making it come to the top. And we are seeing that we simply cannot trust anymore. And that's exactly like if we having negative emotions, if we are not happy with the current situation we're in, if we are feeling anxiety because we don't know what the future brings, if we are feeling fears because something has been stirred up that is unfamiliar to us because everything is in change, that is exactly what we are moving into right now. And in that sense, yes, an eclipse is a great awakening, is a wonderful moment for shifting. But that doesn't mean that this is just in a comfortable way coming and just awakens our heart in the best possible way. If you have done your homework and you are very aware of what's going within, you are not very reactive and you are very accepting with life, and you don't have really much personal desires because you have lived them out. You have acknowledged them, and therefore you're at the place of equilibrium, of detachment, and feeling just very alive. Then it's a wonderful event where that just simply shows you that everything is in perfect harmony, no matter if it's going up and down. But I think most of the humanity is not at that place. And therefore, let's speak about what do you do if you have intense emotions. What if you actually fear, or if you have some strong anger, or some discomfort and anxiety alive within you? And I think that simply expresses this Cancer solar eclipse, because Cancer is about an awakening of the feminine energy. And feminine energy is about emotion, about sensuality, sensitivity, and therefore the capacity to acknowledge, to hold and nurture what is alive within us. The masculine would be, I'm angry because of this, and let's tell you why you should change that. And I don't want that that's the case anymore, and you should change as a president. And this system of economy doesn't work for our world anymore. I think that's all true, but we still have to go through that process on a personal level as well, and not just shaking or changing what is happening outside. I think both of them are relevant, and I think we are more than ever in need of the feminine energy, and this solar eclipse in Cancer is simply awakening that sensitivity of becoming aware what's actually alive in us, becoming aware that there is actually something alive in us that triggers us and is in motions. And these motions is what emotions are. And therefore, when we ask ourselves, how can we deal with intense energy? Normally, it's not that we have to get rid of them or try to fix them, because that's why we think we should deal with them a lot of time, because emotions are only allowed in children. Where we are adults, we're supposed to have it figured out, and we should function, and we should know what to do. At least I feel that way, and I'm working on that since a long time, to really figure out what's actually going on with me. Because normally we don't like negative emotions. And when we are rejecting a part of ourselves, that's when we get stuck. And an emotion cannot flow anymore through us. And an intense emotion, therefore, is simply something that we have to become aware of in the first place, otherwise it rules us. And aware doesn't mean that you have to just acknowledge it. And then still you're allowed to be still angry or still being depressed. But no, it's an active awareness, where you acknowledging that this part is alive in you, whatever it might be, and you're simply coming to a place when the awareness is undivided. You're not shifting, you're not looking constantly somewhere else, so it can be fully seen. You're not judging yourself, and you're not trying to change yourself. And in that space, in that awareness, the emotion can flow through you again. So it's not like I'm beyond that or I'm transcending that and I'm just awareness. It's allowing the emotion to be alive in you. And from that place, we can truly come to that gift of Cancer, where we can really be again everything. Where we can be again unsecure, where we actually can be angry without pushing that aggression on somebody or put on somebody some shame and blame, but we can truly honor that sensation within us. And I think in that sense, the solar eclipse gives us the capacity to feel the richness and the complexity and diversity of what it means to be a human, to be alive in that world. And from that place also to acknowledge that actually we have to come back, otherwise we drive crazy and it hurts and it's so difficult and we don't know personally the solution. And that's exactly the point where we ultimately, hopefully, come to such an intensity where we simply drop. It's not that we have to figure it out, that we have to reinvent life, or that we have to find out the solution or who is the evil person or who did it. But it's much more coming back to a place where we can actually simply feel again. We can allow again, and we can live again and be concerned with our immediate surrounding, with our immediate life. And from that, a real heart awakening, a real care comes, a real share, because the beauty is actually lying upon in the awakening of our own souls. But I think beauty has become such a standardized product that we rely upon and we can now also buy. But the real beauty is when we find this abandoned place within us, where these emotions and fears and worries and negativity have been become stuck, and they needed an intense world shift or change, where we can suddenly be allowed to feel them and therefore bring awareness into that domain, and we are again allowing ourselves and the people around us to be fully human. We are caring again. We have empathy for other people who are also in need, and we are seeing that life is not a place where we are simply getting out of what we want, or we can control it, or it's simply a place and that actually for all of us is a mystery, and we are going through a deep shift, and therefore this solar eclipse is just pushing us a little bit more into the unknown. With this, I wish you a happy solar eclipse. Thank you for the likes, for the shares, and I see you in the next video. Goodbye.